So this is episode 2 of the Sadbox, and I'm here with my very first fan, Drees.
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
I would say that we're friends, right?
Yeah, we are friends, of
Yeah,
course. I
yeah.
mean, we text on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah, we text, we send each other nudes. Sometimes I describe my sexual fantasies to you, and then you include yourself in them. That's what friends do, right?
Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, I've been doing this friends thing a bit wrong. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I do with my friends.
I mean, if that's what friendship is, then I am friends with a lot of pastors.
I mean, if that is what friendship is, then you are friends with like 8,000 subscribers on YouTube. Because let's be honest, your YouTube videos, I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, if you look at just one of my videos, you would think like, oh, okay, this video is horny. But then you'll look at my channel and you think, no, 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 this man is horny.
It's funny because I was about to say it didn't used to be that way, but then I remember what was the video called again? It's an old video. I think we were making a porn or something. That one.
And that wasn't
And
even about porn, that was just a vlog where we talked about sex a lot.
yeah, indeed. And then there was also the making memes or the lacroix memes
Yeah.
that you like let the girl spit into your mouth and stuff like that.
just because just because I let my friend spit into my mouth, and just because my friend let me put my foot in her mouth, doesn't make it inherently sexual. It just means we're really good friends.
I
Anyone?
mean, yeah, but let's be honest, like 99% of the people watching that video will think it is something to do with sex
That's
or
fair.
sex related because I mean, I don't know, like I'm close with my friends, but spitting in their mouths,
Well, then you're obviously not close with your friends.
I mean, I just don't think I'm into the spitting into each other's mouths thing because I've spooned with my friends in like one sleeping bag while he was naked, like stuff like that.
You
But then
you spit on your friend naked while he was in a sleeping bag.
no, I didn't spit on him, but I was sleeping with him in one sleeping bag
Wait, and he
while
was
he was
naked?
naked. He
Did
was
he
naked, yes.
did he know that you were there?
He was sleeping at the time.
Wait, so you
Like,
crawled
wait,
into your naked friend's sleeping bag without him knowing?
that, I'm going to like explain the situation.
Okay, okay.
Um, I was traveling with my best friend. I backpacked for a month around Europe,
Mhm.
and we were in Norway. We were camping on a mountain, but I had this very thin sleeping bag, and he had a very thick, warm sleeping bag. And it was night, and it was like freezing outside, and I was very cold. So I woke up from the cold while he was just sleeping in his warm sleeping bag, and I just said, fuck it, got out of my sleeping bag, got into his sleeping bag, which was nice and warm, and then I just kind of spooned him, and then I noticed his dick in between my ass cheeks.
Wait, 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 wait,
And
wait, 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 wait. You had the opportunity to choose to be either the big spoon or the little spoon, and you chose to be the little spoon.
um, well, I didn't. We were sleeping in a tent, so there wasn't a lot of space like to
Okay.
move about.
All
So
right.
he
All
was
right.
lying next to me, so I just couldn't like. Otherwise, I had to crawl over him to then get into the sleeping bag.
I see. I see.
But yes, me, a 6'4" guy, was the little spoon.
So, so you had the thin sleeping bag. He had the thick one. So this is basically like Goldilocks. If Goldilocks had decided to suck off all three bears as part of an interspecies, intergenerational orgy.
Um, okay, give me a moment. I just need to clear that vision from my mind because I'm. That's the thing about like how do you say it in English? You like think in visuals, like
Mhm.
you're very every time you somebody says something, you immediately see the image of it. Like I think that way, and it's horrible, especially talking to you because you always say stuff like that, and then that image is just stuck in my head for like at least 2-3 hours straight.
You're welcome for that image. I'm glad that I was able to gift it to you.
Thank you, thank you. I will remember it. I will make a drawing of it so I can keep remembering it, and I will put it above my bed.
You should just go to a really talented tattoo artist and have it tattooed on the inside of your eyelids. So every time you close your eyes, like get it done in phosphorus or something, so that it glows in the dark. So every time you
The
close your eyes, you can see it.
See, now I'm just thinking about how it feels to get the inside of your eyelashes like tattooed, like eyelids tattooed. Have
Yeah,
you
well,
have you
that would hurt.
yeah, have you a tattoo? Do you have tattoos?
No, but I really want one. I want to start brainstorming my first tattoo because I'll hold on to an idea for a month, but then I'll realize, oh wait, this is really basic. Like what the fuck? Like a clock with some roses? What am I, a mafia member? Like or like, oh, I'm gonna get like an anchor, despite the fact that I've never been in the Navy before in my entire life. Just stupid bullshit like that. So I need to stop thinking about like basic, like, oh, this would look cool, and more about like, oh, what's important to me. And this is going to sound stupid, but I really want my first tattoo to be like an over stylized bathtub.
An over stylized bathtub.
Yes,
And why?
because I was born in a bathtub because I was adopted and my mom was 16 when she had me and she didn't go to a hospital to deliver me. So most pregnancies that are done at home are done in bathtubs.
I
So I would
mean,
want like a bathtub to signify like, oh, I was born and this is the story behind it, you know.
yeah. At first, I was like, "What the fuck, a fucking bathtub?" But now
But
that you
that
explain it, like, once you know the story, it's actually a good tattoo. It's a
yeah,
really good
so
idea.
what I would do is I would just get a bathtub tattooed onto my face and then people would be like, what the fuck? You look like an idiot. Why do you have a bathtub tattooed onto your face? And I would say, dude, I don't know my mom. I haven't spoken to her in 21 years. This is the story. And then they would look at me crying, wiping a tear from their eyes as they sniff. And then they would say, but couldn't you have gotten it done on your arm?
Yeah, but I
And I would
mean,
agree.
that's a good way on how to make every interaction with a human person to make it very awkward,
Very
but
memorable. You say awkward,
memorable.
I say
Yes,
memorable.
but yeah, you should get the bathtub tattoo, but maybe just not on your face.
Yeah, the other thing is the bathtub tattoo actually goes against like everything I like about tattoos. Because my least favorite tattoos are the ones that are just objects that are sort of placed on your body. Like I hate looking at a person where they have like 8 tattoos and they're all just like objects placed separately on their body. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah,
I like tattoos that are patterns.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know what you mean. Here I am sitting with an object tattoo on my chest.
Yeah, it's like people who have like, oh, I've got this trail mix on my arm, and I've got this like Slim Jim on my elbow, and then I've got this eagle eating a potato on my thigh, and it's just like they should blend into your body. They shouldn't stand out, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
So I
I
don't
mean,
really know how I would make a bathtub just blend into my body like that.
you could just like continue and make a whole bathroom. Like
No,
for
I think
example,
that's even
you
worse.
could make like a toilet next to it, and then in the toilet you put your channel because it's kind of shit.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah, got it, got it.
I'm joking, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I get what you're saying that you want to like let everything blend in,
Mhm.
and I would agree on you, except for the fact that my tattoo will not blend in with anything. So yeah,
That's
let's
yeah.
just say that I uh, have I actually told you the story of my tattoo, or
No,
like
I
how I
didn't know
got
that
it.
you. I didn't know that you had one.
I had one like put on last summer when I was traveling with my friend, the same friend as which I slept in the sleeping bag with,
Hmm.
naked.
Did he wake
Um,
up?
oh yes, he did.
Okay. Did he care?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
Well, it was at first it was like what the fuck, and then I was like I'm cold, and then it was like uh, I guess okay then.
Okay. Yeah. Have my heat.
And but we were backpacking again this summer, and we were playing this game. What's the chance? Do you know it?
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you say, what are the chances that you like kill the
Yeah,
president, and you say 100, and then you both guess a number between
yeah,
1 and 100.
yes, indeed. So we were doing that, but we were doing it for like stupid shit. Like at first, it was like silly ideas for like jumping into a fountain, which he actually had to do. But
Mm.
then I started like making up crazy ideas, and he was always saying like crazy numbers, also like 100,000 stuff like that. And then I came up with the idea: what if we both get a tattoo this vacation? And instead of saying like 100,000, a million, he said 25,
Oh, yeah,
which
that's
is
pretty
still
low.
yeah, but I mean it's still pretty like high. If like 25 numbers and you both have to guess exact the same number,
It's like a
it's
4%
still
chance of getting the same number.
yes indeed. So I was like, okay, we'll do it. It has been said, so we have to like continue with the game. So 3, 2, 1, and we both said 24. And from then on, like I think 2 days later, we both got our tattoo.
It's cool that you actually like went through with it.
Yeah. It was also because we were still on vacation, so I had mine set in like not a sketchy shop because it was like it was a nice shop, but still it was in Croatia,
Mhm.
and
And as
I don't
everyone
know if you.
knows, everything in Croatia is sketchy. Do not trust the Croatians.
I
This was a joke. I'm not racist. I know nothing about Croatia. Keep going.
I mean I've been there, and you're right. Croatians are
Oh,
sketchy.
in that case, please be
Mhm.
racist against all Croatians.
Yeah, if you ever see a Croatian, just be as racist as you can to it, which I
To
think for the
it?
American viewers is quite easy.
I like how you don't even say don't be do be racist to him or her. No, it's like no, it's it. Like we're so racist. This is no longer a human being.
Yes, that's just how things tend to go. My good friend Hitler did the same thing with the Jews, so I think I just keep on his legacy and do the same thing with the Croatians.
It must have hurt your heart. It must have broken your heart when you heard of his suicide.
Yeah, I was devastated,
Mhm.
but that's just why I try to like keep his legacy going, just in memory of my good friend Hitler.
Got it. Well, you would fit right in here in America right now as we speak. I'm going to talk about that for like a minute because I hate when I'm listening to humor podcasts, like comedy podcasts, and then they get serious because I was just like, no, I
Mm.
wanted to relax a bit, but I get it now because it feels weird to like only joke when my world is falling apart. But
Yeah, it feels
basically,
weird.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But basically, it's ironic that at protests against police brutality, the police are just exercising more brutality, explaining why we need these protests in the first place. And there's also this disparate like duality between the protests that Americans held for Corona and having to stay inside, and the protests now, where there is now more violence involved in these protests as opposed to the ones with predominantly white protesters. That's fun. I have more to say, but I just encourage you all to do your own research because it's very systematic and the country seems to be divided into like almost equal parts, which is very disheartening. Um, because we were brainwashed to think that all cops are good, so therefore nothing they do is wrong, so therefore if a cop does kill a man, the man must have deserved it. And that's just an obviously fucked up way of thinking. So please either donate or help spread awareness with what is going on. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming where you're allowed to laugh. And if you did laugh during the last minute or two, I don't know what that, but good for you.
Um, I was about to say, like, if you laugh about that, you're a bad person. But then again, we make Hitler jokes, so uh, I think if you laugh at the stuff we are saying, just in general, you're kind of fucked up, like in some way.
Well, we're all sort of fucked up.
But I mean, everybody's a bit fucked up,
Yeah,
and
like
it's
varying levels in like different varying situations.
yeah, just different categories and different like areas you're fucked up in. Like
Hmm.
for example, our humor is
Whoa,
fucked
what
up.
happened there? Are
I
you okay?
just I died a little inside,
Yeah.
and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to check if my camera is still recording. I mean, if you can put this together, it would be like it's quite hard to like make a video or like make a podcast when you're not even living in the same continent.
Yeah, imagine how entertaining we would be if we were in the same room.
Oh God, I'm just looking forward to the day that you come to Belgium or I'm going to the US
I'll go to
because
Belgium because there's no way I'm passing down an opportunity to go to Belgium and also get out of the racist country that I live in.
yeah, I was about to say like I don't know like I want to meet you, but I don't know if I want to like be in America, especially right now.
Yeah,
Like
it's not worth meeting me for.
I rather stay alive. I mean, probably if I meet you, you kill me anyway or rape me or something. But still, if it's be done, I rather have it be done by you. Was that English? I think so.
Yeah, in Belgium.
Mhm.
If you're gonna be murdered, you want it to be by me in Belgium, the place you love, by the person you love.
Yes.
I have a list of celebrities. Well, I have two lists of celebrities, and one list is all the celebrities that I would let stab me, and the other is the list of celebrities that I want to be involved in an orgy with. And upon closer inspection, you'll realize that both of these lists involve the same number and the same exact people. So I think love and hatred are very similar emotions. Um, Speaking of orgies, would you ever want to be in one?
Um, I would say yes, but I don't think I'm confident enough to be in an orgy and to like be fully functioning. Because
I
just the idea of an orgy seems fun, just like everybody agreeing like we're just having sex, we're having fun, it's a good time. But then on the other hand, I don't think I'm confident enough with my body to participate in an orgy.
I don't think it's about confidence. I think it's just about uh like doing something you've never done before. You know?
Yeah, but it's I don't know, like I just don't like my body and just having like sex with one person is also like it's I don't know, it's sometimes it makes me feel uncomfortable because you're like naked and they can see your full body and like I don't like it so I'm afraid they don't like it and it's just sometimes it just gets into my head so I think if I'm in a room full of people it just gets worse and I will think like oh look at that guy's cock it's so nice why is my cock not so nice and
Well,
stuff like
that's
that.
when you cover that man's cock with your mouth, so other people can't see it.
That's true, but there's only like so much cock I can take at once. So in an orgy, there's more than one guy. So I'll be sucking a dick and then just see a nicer dick pass by,
And
and
then
I
you
just end up
your work is never
sucking
done.
all the dicks and not have sex.
Well, I guess that's the point of the orgy. But
I mean,
if the more
yeah,
people
but
that
eventually,
are at the orgy, the less likely you are of being the least attractive person. You know what I mean? Like only one person can be the least attractive at an orgy. So the more people there
that,
are, the lower the chances are that that person is you.
that's true.
Yeah,
So what you were saying is that I just need to get into a really big orgy.
exactly. Like so the more people you invite, the more confident you can become, because someone is bound to be uglier than you are.
That's true. But like, how would you get into an orgy?
You have to be
Like,
invited.
yeah, but like, where? Is there a Facebook group for it, or?
I don't know. I wish I knew because I. Well, okay. So here's the thing. There's this site called FetLife, which is basically Facebook for fetishes, where you could theoretically organize orgies. But an orgy isn't necessarily a thing you throw with strangers, and it's not necessarily a thing you throw with close friends either. Like what happens is your close friends are already part of a group of people that have orgies bi-weekly, and then one day your friends, after talking to you for a while and recognizing your inane, uh, inert sexual prowess, they sit you down, they put their hand on your thigh, and they say, Dries, we have something to ask you. Would you like to be in an orgy with us? And then that's when you sort of make the decision.
I think if I got the opportunity, like somebody was asking me to be part of the orgy, I think I would go for it.
Yeah, because how
Just
can you turn that down?
yeah, indeed. It's like you don't get a chance very often. So I think like if you get the chance, just fucking go for it. And if you don't like it, then at least you know you don't like orgies.
Mhm. I think if I had the opportunity, I would like to be in three orgies. The first one is like the test period, because like anytime you do something for the first time, you're going to suck at it. I don't want to base my entire like orgy experience off of one orgy. So if I have a
Yeah.
bad time, then I could just chalk it up to being like, oh, it was my first time at an orgy. Obviously, I'm not going to have a great time. So the second time is me taking what I've learned, taking all the mistakes I made the first time around, and thinking, okay, I won't make those mistakes this time. So let's see what I can learn for the second time around. And then the third time will be me coming back and saying, okay, I learned what not to do. I sort of learned what to do. Now I have all the information and hands-on experience I need. Let's have a good orgy. And then if I don't enjoy myself that third time, then I'll know for sure that I don't like orgies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you need like I always get frustrated when people just try something like once or like half a time and then they just quit and say no, it's not for me. Like
Mhm.
at least give it like a good shot. For example,
Yeah.
like yeah, the orgy, like your first time is probably always going to be shit. It's like your first time sex, it's always shit because you don't know what you're doing and it just doesn't feel right and it's very uncomfortable. But if you just like practice a bit and you know what you're doing, then it just becomes much better.
Yeah, like if I if I had sex, like if after I lost my virginity, I thought to myself, "Oh wait, this is what sex is like. All sex is gonna be like this." I would have never had sex again because I would have been afraid of having sex with a girl who was secretly on her period and never told me while I came in like 10 seconds. And obviously, I don't want that to happen. but but yeah,
how
the
was your first time having sex
I
actually?
literally just told you what happened.
Was it actually that way?
Yeah, well, I didn't come, but I was going to, so I stopped, which doesn't make it any better.
Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but
Yeah. Were
I
you
what?
have you ever taken the virginity of a girl?
Mm, I took the spiritual virginity of a girl, as in I dated this Christian girl who had had sex before, but then she prayed to God to become a reborn virgin. So I took that, but she was not like a physical, honest to God virgin. Virgin, no.
Why did you date a girl like that?
Because I was also like sort of kind of Christian at the time, but not really. Like I was going to church, um, and also she was funny, and she was attractive, and
Wait,
like
wait, wait.
after
You were kind of Christian and you were going to church.
yeah, I was like 16 at the time.
One, I didn't know. Two, what the hell happened after that? Because let's just be clear: you're not Christian at this moment in time. You're going straight to hell. If you die, you're going straight to hell. You know this.
Well, that's where all the fun is what all the people who
That's
are told that they're going to hell say, which means I'm not special at all. But what, so I'm not a Christian anymore. I practice altruism. And altruism is different from agnosticism because agnosticism is not knowing whether or not there's a God, and atheism is knowing for sure there is no God. Whereas I believe that there is a higher power or a set of higher powers, but I just don't, I like choose not to worship him, her, it, or them because I think he, she, it, or they are massive assholes. So that's sort of why I stopped being a Christian. Because, like, I don't mind religion. I think religion can be helpful for individuals, but not for, like, civilization. And, like, if you go through something traumatic and need to believe in God to help you heal, then, like, that's obviously great. That's perfect. Like, if religion helps you become a better person, great, perfect, wonderful. Helps you raise better children, fantastic. I'm so happy for you. But for me, from what I've gathered, it's just like if God is real, he's probably an asshole because um, if God has absolute power and is absolutely good, then theoretically we should be able to look at the Christian God and all of his actions and say all of these actions were inherently good, and therefore I can live my life based on what the Christian God did, what Yahweh did. But then you would have to take into account, like, oh, if that's the case, that means I can kill all the world except for Noah and his family and be justified. That means I could, like, turn a woman into a pillar of salt just because she didn't listen to me. I could kill a man's family and his livestock and, like, infect him with boils just because I want to win a bet. And, like, we all as people know that that's not right, that that's inherently wrong. But because God did it, it's apparently okay. Do you see what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean. I like the idea of religion. It's just it's practiced in a very bad way because like believing in like God or in whatever, it should like help you personally, but all you see in the world is just war starting over religion or like people getting into fights over religion or like people like I've seen documentaries. I don't know how true they are, but I guess they're pretty true from Christian churches in America and how they like basically like kind of brainwash. Like it's not really a good term, but my English vocabulary is too limited to know for a better word. But just kind of brainwash like children from a very young age that God exists and everything, and just blah blah blah, and like very strictly Christian education. And I know it's kind of fucked up. I think you should have a choice if you want to believe or not.
Yeah. It's like Santa Claus is basically training kids to believe in Jesus or God rather. And like it's because I used to volunteer in the children's service at church, and it was really weird like seeing the volunteers go up to like 8-year-olds and say, "Hey, if you like memorize this Bible verse, we'll give you candy. Like if you can tell us what God wants you to do, we'll give you candy." It's super like controlling and sort of fucked up, and like not a great situation overall.
Yeah, and there's like because with it there's like the science connected to it. Like you let a person do something and you give them a reward, so they just connect like believing or Christianity to getting rewards or to being a good thing, and that's just how you get them believing instead of just them actually thinking like, oh yeah, being Christian is good and I want to help people or stuff like that.
And it's also the idea being that your religion is correct, being so deeply ingrained into your psyche that you reject like scientific advancement. That doesn't make sense to me. Like like the fact that the Earth is billions of years old, but the Bible says it's 6,000 years old, so therefore you seriously think that dinosaurs and humans coexisted. Like, there's people out there who think that because the doesn't necessarily say so, but because the Bible says the earth is 6,000 years old. So, therefore, in their minds, the entire history of the world has to fit within those 6,000 years. And if you look at the history of religion, because obviously humans have needed religion because we're very existential creatures who need hope and we need answers to the questions that we constantly ask, like, where do I go after I die? And also, what makes me a good or bad person? But most of religion revolves around death ceremonies. Like, we're very selfish creatures. We want to know that after a person is dead, that we still continue.
Yeah.
And like some religion began in that very selfish like manner of thinking. And you look at the way that people worshipped and what they worshipped. First of all, we began to worship like wolves, turtles, cats, alligators, hippos, eagles, because those were significant creatures to us. Like, wow, we can't run as fast as that. Wow, that thing killed so quickly. Wow, that thing can fly. Wow, that thing can breathe underwater. Wow, that thing crushed my cousin in like less than a second. That must be God. Like, that is powerful. But then we figure out, we devise ways to kill wolves, sheep, cats, eagles, lions, tigers, bears. And then we look inside their bodies and we realize, oh wait, that wasn't God. So then we decide, okay, then God must be in the trees, God must be in the mountains, God must be the sea himself. But then we venture out to the mountains, we climb Mount Olympus, we like traverse the seas, we go into the forest, we cut down the trees, and then we realize, wait, God wasn't there. So then God must be in the sky. Like God, like in order for God to survive, he has to get further and farther away from us physically until now he's where he is at now, as in a completely different dimension on a spiritual existence where we cannot touch him until we die. And that's the only way we can really cope with him still existing. We have to have faith. And faith is like just a word to make you believe in something that doesn't make sense despite all the evidence pointing to the contrary. And it's harmful because it closes your mind to actual helpful ideas that could make your life better and could make your viewpoint on the world make more sense.
Yeah, this reminded me of a video I watched. I watched it recently again. It's from Exorbia. Like, you know the YouTuber, so
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, I love him.
Yeah, he's fucking great. He's amazing. He
For
made
anyone listening, still, Exorbia, as in EXBOR1A, is
yeah
a fantastic YouTuber who does videos on like the meaning of life, what makes life worth living, sort of the emotional aspect of being alive, I would say.
yeah, stuff like that. But he also has like how to like get creative and stuff like that. Like how he does his creative writing, and he also wrote some books. And he's just like, he tells it in a very serious and kind of sciencey way, and just put some jokes inside. But what I
Hmm.
was trying to say is, in that video, he explained that humans, we need a purpose in life, and some people just find it in a hobby or a passion they really love. But then religion is also an easy way to find purpose in life. It's because God put us here, and we need to worship God, and we need to behave like good people, and that gives humans purpose in life. Because if humans don't have purpose in life, it's you just get depressed and you don't know what you're doing, you don't know why you're doing stuff, and just become like, I don't know, you in
Lost.
in my yeah, you become lost. You don't know what you're doing or what you're supposed to be doing here. You're just here, and there are some rules, but you don't know if you need to follow them. Like, do I need to get a job and earn a lot of money, or can I just be happy with little money, stuff like that? But then
Hmm.
religion just gives kind of a purpose to people, and it gives like a sense of meaning to people, like why they exist here, and it explains some of the harder questions that people ask themselves.
Yeah. And like that's genuinely helpful. Like I think religion is important in that aspect because it provides you with a description, a definition, and like answers. Because I feel like I was more confident when I was religious because my because all the questions I ask myself now, like what happens after I die, am I a good person? What is morality? Is life worth living? Those big questions that take up a large portion of my mind were already answered when I was religious, and religion provided me with a foundation for my essence, I guess, for like who I was, because I could define myself by like, oh, I'm a Christian, and then inherently being Christian means this. It means like I believe in an afterlife. I believe in God. These are my morals. This has already been decided for me. Like someone has provided these answers for me. I don't need to find them on my own. Like that was the bedrock for who I was. But then once I stopped being religious, that was removed from me, and now like all of my advancements that I make in my personality and as a human being are made on more shaky ground. I still need to provide a foundation for because I don't have religion and because I need to like have answers to those same questions that I no longer have the same bedrock answers to.
I find it.
I got like super high on acid like a year ago, and I discovered the answer to like why the universe exists and why I'm alive and how I'm connected to the universe. But then as soon as I sobered up, I forgot what that was. But I remember like how confident I was that that was the right answer. So now, not this isn't necessarily my religion, but this is sort of my modus operandi, my reason for living, my my the confidence I've built in my reason to exist and continue existing is built on that one moment when I was very high for a brief period of time and discovered the answer to the universe. And even though I don't remember what the answer to the universe is, I remember how confident I was when I found it. So that's sort of what I worship now. That's sort of like what I base my life off of. The fact that I did figure things out and that everything was okay. And if everything was okay, and I thought everything was okay, then by all logic, everything should still be okay if the universe has remained unchanged.
Yeah, I think just knowing that there is a meaning to life is also like that's the first step, because if you like don't believe in anything, you don't believe in God or whatever, you just follow science, then there isn't necessarily like a distinct like meaning to life, because that's not
Mm.
incorporated into science, or you can't incorporate it into science. And I think by you being just high on acid and discovering the meaning of life, it just gives hope, because you know, even though you can't remember, you just know that there is a meaning to life, and you know that the answer does exist and that you can
Are
find it.
you are you atheist, agnostic?
I am. I've been brought up. Um, well, I could choose. Like, I just I wasn't pushed in any way, but I just kind of realized, like, at a certain age, that religion, like, it can be useful, but it's just the way it is practiced now. It just gets in the way of so many other things, especially science, because I'm quite big on
Mm.
science, because that's just facts. Like, you measure something, you prove it, it's that way, and you can be wrong, but then you acknowledge it, you better yourself, and that's just how science works. And that's why I'm also studying science. And I don't know, just for me, science has always been the answer to like bigger questions, which of course,
Yeah,
like,
because it's irrefutable.
yeah, like science can't answer everything, because you can say, okay, there's a god in a different universe. Well, science can prove you wrong, because we don't know if there is another universe, but we also don't know if there isn't. Like, you can't prove that there isn't another universe out there.
And some science has pointed to the idea that there might be another universe.
Yeah, it's indeed like it's possible that there are other universes, but it's also possible that there are not other universes. We just don't know. And
Mhm.
like for those like very big questions, science just can't answer them, or at least not right now. But just for the daily stuff that we are dealing with right now, I think science, like in my opinion, science is still the best answer.
Yeah, and it's strange that some people choose not to believe in science because science kills God. And it's like, it's not our fault that we use science to figure out that the clouds are actually just water vapor and not God. That's not our fault. Like, and if science happens to prove that God does not exist, then that's not our fault either.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We did kind of like a test when we were in middle school, like we were 12 year or something like that, and the whole class had to get into a big circle, and one person had to come up with a sentence and say it very quietly to the person next to it so the others couldn't hear it.
Oh yeah,
And that,
telephone.
yeah, telephone. And you had to get around the circle, and then at the end of the circle, the last person had to repeat what was said out loud, and you would always come up with like a different sentence. And that's kind of good proof of why the Bible can have can and probably has a lot of mistakes in it, because it has been translated and it has been copied for like thousands and thousands of times and thousands of years. So it's like there are bound to be mistakes in it. So if you believe that the first like book sent down to earth by God was the real answer, then you just basically know there are mistakes in the Bibles you read now this day.
Yeah, and like even if there aren't mistakes in the Bible, it's still not a great source of information. Like like according to the Bible, rainbows didn't exist before Noah and the ark.
Is that true? Yeah, I haven't read the Bible completely.
So the story of Noah and the ark, you know about that, right?
Wait 1 second. I think my camera turned off.
Okay.
Wait. Okay, I'm recording again.
All right. So the story of Noah and the ark was that everyone on earth sucked. They didn't worship God, but Noah and his family were the only family that did. So God told Noah, "Okay, Noah, build an ark in 40 days because in 40 days I am going to flood the earth and kill everything except for you, your family, and 9 of each animal. It was 2 clean animals and 7 unclean animals of each species, but people simplify it to 2. And Noah was like, I bet. And he did it. And God destroyed the world because that's just the thing that God does. Um, and and after all of that was over, God told Noah, Noah, I am going to create a rainbow, and the rainbow is my covenant with you to explain that um, I will never do this again. Like when you see a rainbow, you will remember the promise that God will never destroy the earth like he did just now. So it's sort of like one of those myths where it's just like, oh, how did rainbows come into existence? I don't know. It's a promise that God made to a human. And it's just
Yeah.
like, did rainbows not exist before that moment? Like when sunlight hit water vapor in the air, did nothing happen, despite the fact that objectively speaking, something should have happened? Like if someone were to like spray a bunch of water into the air from a pond, would light not refract off the water vapors and like split off into the separate rays that make it look like a rainbow? Like what the fuck happened before that flood, you know?
Yeah, and it's also like there's some other stuff as well, because if I remember correctly, God created humans in his, how do you say it, in his spitting image, or like
Yeah, in his
he,
image or his likeness. Yeah.
yeah, indeed, like that. But humans are shit, so either God is shit also, or God doesn't exist. Like there's no other way, because there are a lot of horrible people, and I mean, if God does create humans and people, then he also created Hitler and Stalin and a lot of horrible people.
Mhm.
So this kind of like the Bible just kind of says that God is a bit insane, I think.
Yeah. And like for me, not being religious isn't about proof. I could have all the proof in the world that God exists, but I'm still going to think he's shitty and his system doesn't work and is inherently flawed, and therefore I won't worship him. Like I would obviously believe in him, but I'm not going to get down on my knees and like base my entire life view around him.
Yeah, but then I feel like it's such a shame and kind of a missed opportunity of religion, because like now most religions are kind of fucked up and nothing like really good come out of it, like generally speaking.
Buddhism is like the only one that seems to like know what it's about.
Yeah, but like for example, like because there's also like some very useful stuff. For example, I know that Muslims, they usually have a tradition, or like the real Muslims I should say, they have the tradition of giving away, I think it's 10%, but don't quote me on that, of their income on the end of the year to the poor people.
Yeah, tithes and offerings. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. So stuff like that is very good and it's very useful, and you help other people in need, and that's all very nice. But then Islam is also used for terrorism, and that's then a bit less good. It's just,
Yeah. Well, it's people like tweaking the words in the Quran to fit their own needs in the same way that like white supremacists and the KKK will do the same thing with the Bible.
yeah,
But you look at the way that religion began, and all it really is like a bunch of people um, who weren't as civilized back then because it was thousands of years ago. So people sort of had to make up rules, and in order for to enforce those rules, they had to say, God will punish you in the afterlife if you don't follow these rules. Like people eventually realized, oh wait, rape, murder, adultery, pillaging, theft is all wrong. And also sometimes when we eat uncooked pork, we die and get sick, so we shouldn't eat that. So the best way to enforce those rules was to say, hey man, listen, like if you're not gonna do this for us, do this for yourself. Like be selfish. Don't go to hell. Like stop killing people, because if you kill people, you'll burn in hell. Like stop eating pork, because we haven't figured out that if you just cook pork properly, you'll be fine. But uh, but like right now, you might get sick and die. So let's avoid doing that. So God says not to eat pork. You know.
yeah, that's at like the beginning of the religions. That's the big difference between Christianity and the Islam. I think, like for as far as I know and have read in my history books, is that Christianity was kind of used. I don't want to say invented, but it was used to keep the people dumb, because it was
Mhm.
like, don't trust the people of science and they're all liars, and just believe in God and believe in what we say, and just stuff like that. It was an easy way to keep the people dumb and to keep them under control. Whereas the Islam was completely the other way around, and it was like, you should study this much and you should read a lot of books and you should learn this and that and stuff like that. But then they still both end up kind of the same. Like,
Yeah, when you look at like the 1400s, Muslim scholars were the ones who were like showering and realizing that showering was a thing that you should do to stay healthy and clean. Whereas Christians are just like showering. What the hell is that?
yeah, I don't know what time period it was, but I also saw it in an Exorbia video. I think it
Hmm.
was a person of science. I don't know his name. He thought that washing your hands before delivering a baby actually stopped people from dying, like from the mothers dying in the hospital, or like, how should I say it? When giving birth,
Well,
if the
yeah.
doctors wash their hands, the woman wouldn't get infected. And he, instead of like getting praised for that, he just got like laughed at, and they made fun of him, and he just, his life basically became one giant shithole, all because he thought washing your hands would actually help against diseases.
And it did, and it would.
It's just,
People have been stupid for a long time.
yeah. And I mean, if you look at the news today, we still are very, very stupid.
Hmm.
Like, we have a lot of, like, we have smart people, but we also have a lot of dumb people just doing stupid shit.
I don't understand how people can be so dumb. Like we
Yeah,
have all the information in the world we need on this website, Google. But then that's the thing. People will be like, "Oh no, how does it have all this information? I'm so suspicious. Google must be the devil," and they like genuinely believe that.
yeah. I'm always taken by surprise at how dumb just some people are. And like, for example, for me, it's easy to say it's mainly the Americans because one, that's what I hear on the news. Two, that's what I see on the internet because you are very prevalent. Let's say it
Yeah,
that
we're
way.
dumb.
But then I just see like on Facebook, like on some pages of the news, the comments section of just Belgian people being equally as dumb, and then I just feel ashamed to just not, yeah, not to be a Belgian, but just to be a human because I'm the same species as that other human being who is being a real shit and who is being very dumb, and I'm just, I don't know, we are made of the same material. Why is he that way and why am I this way?
Yeah, and I feel like if I was God, the one thing I would do before fucking off and following in the footsteps of my predecessor is I would just give everyone self-awareness. Like I would just make people aware of just how much whatever they are. If you're an idiot, I would make you aware of just how much of an idiot you are. If you're like actually nice, then I would help you with that. But like self-awareness is so important and more people will need it and so obvious that not a lot of people have it. And like I could be saying this and I could be missing something entirely and people could be pointing me to me saying like, "Oh, you're talking about self-awareness while not being self-aware, you ironic fuck." And that would be killer, obviously. But like I feel like I became a
Right.
much better person once I became self-aware and once I realized like, "Oh, wait, I'm not a good person. I just always assumed I was and therefore acted like I should be treated as such, even though I'm not."
I just people is I think the big problem is that we are just too complicated. Like our brains, we are
Mhm.
just too they are very complicated. In just a moment, like one neuron isn't aligned properly, you just get something fucked up, and people, I don't know, making wrong associations and people making wrong thoughts, and just I think we are, because small changes can make such a big difference. It makes for a lot of different humans and a lot of different ideas. I think
Mhm.
that's the way, for example, we think that racists are very fucked up people and the racists think the same of us just because we live in like our separate world or in our separate way of thinking. Everything that everybody else who's not thinking our way is just complete morons.
Yeah. It's strange to think that a person can become racist simply because they were taught since they were born that like one race is inferior to the other, and you can't like make a proper argument with them because
Yeah,
that just goes against the entire way they were raised.
that's also the thing. Like, that's then on the topic of being racist. It's like nobody is born racist. There's no saw a video of it also. Like nobody's born racist. Nobody, like there's no racist gen. There's no genetics behind it. It's just the way you were brought up that made you racist. Because if you see children, like small children, the age of 5, like white, black, Asian, like they will all play together like equally as nice or not nice, depending on how the children are. But it has nothing to do with race. They don't see the difference. For example, me in my school, there was a girl from Islam and there was a boy who was from Congo. And as a child, you just don't recognize the difference. They're all just children of your class, and that's it. They're nothing more, nothing less. You're all just the same in your head.
Yeah, because I didn't really realize or recognize what race was, but my parents made me because my parents are like slightly racist. So like I'm adopted by white people and they would constantly bring up race. Like if they weren't talking about a white person, you would know because they wouldn't mention the ethnicity of the person they were talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. It's like you also like see it in the news now very much. Like if a white person commits a crime, it's just a person. But when a black
Yeah,
person does it, it's a black person that commits a crime. Like
yeah,
there's no need to mention his skin color because it doesn't affect what he did. There's nothing to do with
exactly.
it.
And so many people want it to be a thing, but uh, my parents would. We lived in Korea, so my parents would always complain about like, oh, like Koreans are such shitty drivers, or like, oh, Koreans are like they'll always like scam you. So I grew up in the backseat thinking those same thoughts about my own people, despite the fact that I am Korean and my parents thought it was okay to like say those things with me in the back seat. So I grew up with the same racist ideals that they had, but I was lucky enough to not be the same skin color they were, because that made it easier for me to realize, oh wait, this is a bunch of bullshit. But it also means that I grew up, ironically, with a lot of white guilt. Like I feel the same guilt that like other white people feel, because I feel like I was raised that same way. So it's
Yeah.
so I'm still like unlearning a lot of harmful behavior,
Well,
because I
no,
feel like if I had
that's
been raised
no,
correctly,
that's
I wouldn't recognize like I wouldn't be as aware of race as I am now. But my parents were always just like, "Oh yeah, black people are always, asking for stuff or blah 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 blah." So then I would start to learn very quickly what a black person was, and then I would grow up thinking like, "Oh, I shouldn't trust them." Or like, "Oh, they're inherently worse than I am," because my parents are always talking to me about like they're not racist, so that makes it okay. But black people do these things, and like that's what I grew up with, you know.
yeah. I think just the way you grew up just determines so much of how you are as a person in life. I was very lucky with my parents because they just made me like they didn't push me in a direction, but they just made me think. Like for example, if if a black person does something wrong, is the color of his skin like the reason why he did something wrong? Like no, of course not. That's just a stupid idea. And
Hmm.
just by reasoning like that, you come to realize like, oh, your skin color does not affect your behavior and stuff like that. And that's kind of the way I was brought up, just by trying to think like logically and just don't assume the first thought that came into your mind of just the first like headline you see on the news, like, oh, this amount of black people have committed a crime this year, stuff like that. You just learn to reason and you learn to think about what it actually means and why they're saying it that way.
Because if you look a bit further than that, you realize, first of all, black people are incarcerated at a higher percentage for two reasons. First of all, if a cop pulls over a white guy for speeding and if a cop pulls over a black guy for speeding, just statistically speaking, the white guy is more likely to get away with it and the black guy will get charged. Like, that's just how things work, unfortunately. And it's so that's one reason for it. Like, there are a disproportionate number of black people being charged for crimes that they can't that are being committed at the same rate by other ethnicities. And then you also have to take into account that if an entire like race of people have been enslaved for like 100 years, and then they've only been freed fairly recently, and then they go through an entire era where they can't vote, they can't earn property, they have to like sit in different parts of the bus, and then only within the last century have they been able to get the right to vote. And as a result of their slavery, they're forced into like lower income areas based on the fact that like no one wants to live with them in areas with not as many job opportunities, then yeah, that community is more likely to turn to drug dealing or like alcohol or things of that nature, which puts them at like a disproportionate rate of committing crimes. So it's not like inherent to them. It's just that the fact that their ancestors uh, were in unlucky situations put them in an unlucky situation, which is why slavery is still prevalent, or like the effects of it are still prevalent to this day. Which is why you can't just say, "Oh, slavery was 300 years ago. Get over it," because like we still feel the effects of it now.
Yeah, that's the thing. When there has been some studies in Belgium, it was a group, and they tried to apply for a job,
Hmm.
and they had the exact same like application or like the same letter, completely copy pasted. Only one was sent by a person named like a typical black name, for example, like Jamal or something like that. And
Hmm.
then the other one was sent by a typical white guy's name, for example, Chris. And they sent it to a lot of companies and just the exact same two emails. And just a person named Chris was much more likely to get hired or to get interviewed by the company instead of a person with a typical black name like Jamal, which is
Yeah,
like
I heard about that.
it's stupid. Like it's just a name, and just based on that specific thing, you like choose people like to not get a job and to not make money and to not like you make them not be able to support their family and stuff like that. It's kind of you are just pushing them yourself into crime. It's the
Yeah, and then
same.
you force them into the narrative that you fashioned for yourself to
Yeah,
make yourself feel more comfortable.
there are also like you know the call centers for whatever company, just people that have to call all day with
Yeah,
customers.
yeah,
The like often they just give the black people just like a fake white name just to like make the customers easier or because it's better for the customer stuff like that. So you
yeah,
just have to say a fake name. For example, your name is Janisha, but you have to call yourself Mike or something like that. Just like a
yeah,
typical white girl name.
or Jenny or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like it's weird to combat because it is so specific and so like deeply ingrained within our psyche. So you can't really make arguments to people who have been thinking like that their entire lives because they see nothing wrong with it. So you can't like show them,
yeah. That's the
which
thing.
makes it so frustrating.
I think the only like real solution to stuff like racism is just proper education and just like the older people, like people in 30s or older, like 40, 50-year-old people, you're not like when they're already racist, there's not like you're not very likely to change them back and to not be racist. Whereas children, they aren't born racist, so if you give them a proper education and teach them how it actually is in the real world, I think you have a much higher chance on actually like fighting or combating racism.
Yeah, it's just sadly the people that are racist are less likely to let their kids be taught properly, and there's also like the flawed education system in America because of the racist system that doesn't care about public education and blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah. It's just a lot of things that have to be fixed at the exact same time together immediately in order for noticeable changes to be made within our lifetime. But that requires a lot of unrealistic steps to be taken. So it's very,
Yeah.
very unfortunate.
Yeah, there we
remember
are.
when we remember when we were talking about orgies at the beginning of this podcast?
Yeah, I remember saying that you hate it when podcasts get serious. I think
Yeah.
I think we've be or like you were only going to talk about racism for 1 minute
Hmm. And then we devoted like the last 14 minutes to it. Good
at
times, good
least.
times.
We've been
Um,
recording for an hour and 6 minutes by now,
okay. I feel like that's enough, right?
and that's definitely enough there.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, this was episode 2 of Sadbox. First, I forgot to mention what Sadbox is. It's either going to be me or it's going to be me and one of the people on my Discord. So Dries will hop in here a lot, and like a few other people I've spoken to on there might come in. But this is going to be found on the Pearl Harbor Online channel, which is just a podcast collective of me and my friends. So it's not just one podcast; it's a lot. So ideally that means that the upload schedule will be like sort of regular because there's so many different things that can be uploaded. But once again, we're still trying to figure things out. If you guys are listening to this, you're listening to a prototype. You're listening to a work in progress, and I hope it turns out well.
I mean, work in progress is just a cheap excuse for it being shit, isn't it?
Yes, that's fair. This is shit, and I'm trying to apologize for it by saying it's a work in progress.
But I
But
mean, you can blame me because one, for me it's like one in a night, and two, I'm very bad at English, so I just speaking on itself is a big struggle for me.
oh yeah, another thing, Drees. This is his second language, so like that's fucking impressive.
It's
But
actually it's my third language
oh wow,
because
then that's
got to
even more
love
impressive.
got to love Belgium. I need to learn French first because half the country speaks French.
All right, well, this is episode 2. You'll probably on another episode, I think.
I mean,
But
I hope
this was a
so.
good
It's
time.
fun. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun. Should do it more
yeah.
often.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening. Goodbye.